Another gut punch episode of Tsumasho. Another gut punch episode of Tsumasho. I've come to accept the loss of Takae at this point. The assumption is that, yes, she's going to pass away at some point. And I've steeled myself to that over the last few weeks. But it doesn't get me over the fact that Keisuke's hurting, the fact that Mai's hurting, the fact that everybody around the situation is hurting. And yes, so much of this episode is Mai coming to grips with what Keisuke, yes, will never fully come to grips with, but he's sort of accepted this point. This is a possession, and she has to go. And I like the willingness of this author to get into the selfishness of a character. Mai, the daughter of this lady, is not going to be okay with the idea of letting her go, despite the fact that, yes, this is Marika's body. She's still going to be selfish in the idea that I can't let this go. And that does get into some really strong stuff around skip content with this particular episode. Unfortunately, there's like this whole strong bit between Mai and Renji. She actually says that she can't marry Renji. Like, she literally is going to dissolve their engagement. And unfortunately, they completely skipped it. And which sucks because it really does give a lot of character to Renji. It answers basically why he chose to get engaged with Mai. That's the massive question mark there. Yeah, she's cute. Yes, she's great and everything. But why did he give up on this one girl? Why did he give up on his past love? It gets a lot more into that, and what essentially bolsters Mai quite a bit and allows her to confront her father. It kind of sucks they skip that stuff, but it's fine. We'll get into it when we get into it, but really good episode. Of course, opening up with Keisuke announcing to Mai that, yes, he's getting married again. And I like what they're getting into here, because this is really kind of something that I personally, yes, would confront Keisuke with. Like, yes, you've been dealing with this loss of your wife for so long, and you've been attached to that, and it broke you, and now here you have this opportunity to kind of see that she's come back, and now you're trying to move away from her in order for her to pass on, but is it a good idea to bring Moria into this? Yes, we know at this point that Moria does love Keisuke. So this is something that she's getting a benefit out of, but there's also a pain that comes with it in the idea that, yes, can you return her love? Is that okay that you don't return her love? Is it okay to get married just for the sake of supporting each other? Because like I mentioned that in the previous video, it's fine that Moria and Keisuke get, married even though they don't have like a romantic love, like they're kissy and everything. They can just get married for the sake of supporting each other. The idea of coming together as partners, not necessarily because it's a lust thing, not because it's a romantic thing, just simply the fact that she loves him and he wants her support. That's fine. But you can get to this realm that at some point Moria might feel like she's not getting the love that she needs. There is a fear there. But really where Mai is, of course, taking this is more in the direction of, that's not okay. Like, you can't get married to her strictly because you want to push mom away. like whatever you're doing, whatever reason you're doing this for doesn't seem right. And I like that she does address that later on, like coming to Keisuke and saying, you have to make me a promise. You can't just marry Moria for the sake of pushing mom away. Just for her sake. That's not right. That's not right that you're doing that. That doesn't seem right in my eyes. And yes, that eventually does unfold to the greater thing here that, yes, Keisuke sees it as a way of moving forward, that he does want to move forward. This will open the door to that. But again, there is a fear here. Are you opening the wrong door? You're rushing into this relationship and this marriage with some lady, and you don't even know if you love her or that you'd want to spend the rest of your life with her. What is drawing you to this besides, key thing here that Mai is pointing out, besides the sake of having mother move on? That is a very, very good question. That is a logical and good question. Now, yes, I do feel like a lot of it is driven by Mai and her inability to accept that her father is basically pushing away her mother. Like, I want to enjoy the time that we have with mom. This is a miracle. We should embrace this and keep this. Why are you so driven to push her away? It is good questions to bring up here. Now, it is interesting that in the anime, they more phrase things around Moria to the idea that she doesn't understand the situation. Like, she doesn't understand that Keisuke loves her mother and that this is not a good thing and that she shouldn't speak up. And I do feel like with the manga, it's more in the realm of Mai being a little bit, she's assuming things here and lashing out. It's obvious that Mai in this scene in the manga, she's lashing out. She's saying, what did you do to trick him? Give me back my father. That's not yours. He's mom's. That's really where she's getting. And I think it is a really good, again, another element of being willing to show how selfish and nasty somebody can get in a situation like that. When she gets emotional with what's being presented before her, of course she's going to lash out that way. And yes, Moria understands that in the after scene. She's like, yeah, I understand. This is not this is not a pretty thing here. Like, I'm not asking her to not express her emotions. I'm not asking her. I'm asking something very heavy of her, basically. This whole situation is asking something very heavy. She loves her mother, of course. It's an extremely, extremely emotional scene here. But of course, this is also the point where Mai is actually learning about the possession, that this isn't a simple case of mom being reincarnated, which is kind of interesting to the later parts where she does sort of push back against this idea that, no, that's not Marika, that she's not possessing her. I don't see Marika in that body. It's just mom. Which is kind of an odd thing for her to say. And again, I think this is in that realm of irrationality, that realm of she's not willing to accept this, that Mai is sort of discounting the moments that she has actually spent with Marika. She had a brief moment where when Takae went to sleep, that she did spend time with Marika, and she did note at that moment, this is a different person. That this kid sitting next to me as I'm tutoring her, she's different. This isn't my mom. She's acting completely different. That should be enough right her to acknowledge that there is another person in there that mom took over. But again, it could be more in the realms of her sort of feeling that it's just because mom forgot her memories again, and it was never this other person. It's always been that she was reborn. But yes, this follows up with a scene with Takae and Mai. I like that little scene just before then where Takae, she gets a message, and then she goes out to see Chika, and she's like, hey, Chika, I need to go talk to my daughter. And like right there, Chika's picking up, wait, you call me Chika? Even for Takae, she was calling her mom. She even before this was calling her mom all the time. She didn't want to disconnect that feeling that she had for her daughter. And so she was always calling her mom. And it's kind of interesting right here where I think this is the first time Takae has ever said Chika-san. Specifically, her name, not mom. So it's kind of a good little note there. But yeah, the scene with Takae and Mai, again, it's really Mai acknowledging from Takae that yes, this is something they've all decided. They haven't decided, but they've all separately kind of come to grips with this. And that yes, Takae herself has even come to grips with the idea that she is going to have to leave eventually. This isn't something that can happen. And yes, more so the idea that this is not something that's normal. That the idea, this is all a miracle that she really shouldn't be holding on to. And that, yes, loss exists. But even still, Mai not wanting to accept losing her. I don't want to lose you. So many good things have happened since you come back, and I can't lose you. Even though I've gotten engaged and everything like that, I still want you around so that I can get advice from you. And right here, Takae really kind of giving that last nudge, like, just like the whole training wheels. We taught you, you kept falling down until eventually you no longer need the training wheels. I'm the training wheels. You no longer need me. You can do this on your own. You don't have to have me with you all the time. But I think there's almost a moment right here where Mai accepts that what they're all saying, but there's one still thing hanging on there, and that's the aspect of regrets, the aspect of loss, and all that kind of stuff that she doesn't want to accept this point, which gets into the next scene and what she deals with Renji. But I do acknowledge there's a interesting little kind of statement made here, which I'm not really sure what it is. Mai's questioning the fact that her father's getting married to Moria because he believes that it will make Takae happy. And she says, yeah, that's definitely unlike him, but that's proof that he kind of acknowledges what I want. He understands what I want. And the assumption there is that she wants him to move on. She's afraid of him growing old and not having somebody there because, yes, Mai's getting married and going to move out and everything. He's going to be alone. She doesn't want him to be alone. She wants him to remarry. Now, the question mark is that brief moment where Takae is going to say something and then she stops herself. She says in the anime, it's just, I think those two ... In the manga, she's thinking maybe those two ... Question mark? Like, what was that? Please continue. I don't know. I can assume that it's probably an aspect that those two are more fit for each other. Those two were destined to be together. Like, she feels like those two might actually be soulmates in the end. Those two don't actually love each other. I don't know. I mean, I think Takae fully believes that Moria loves Keisuke. Now, the question is, does she see anything in Keisuke liking Moria? That's the question mark. But what was she saying here? Maybe those two ... I don't know. It's like, what were you going to say? Please tell me. Hopefully they answer what that is, especially in the anime if they're skipping a lot of stuff. But We'll see. But yeah, that's when we get into Mai going to see Renji the entire time, questioning the idea of regrets and what is in loss and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that's obviously a massive question mark I think everybody has to the idea of loss, or either by proxy seeing somebody have loss. The idea of what is the point of getting to know people if you're going to lose them. It was the same case with her mother. When her mother first passed away, it made her close herself up. And that's really the deeper aspect here, is that she closed herself off and she felt like she never wanted to see anybody ever again or get to know anybody because she doesn't want the regrets of that loss. That's what she dealt with prior. That's what closed her off. That's what prevented her from getting jobs, is because she didn't want to meet people. That was her big sticking point. And right here is where she's acknowledging that's what happened to her, and what leads her, yes, like I said before, to literally telling Renji she can't get married with him. I'm a bad girl and I can't get married with you, and he has to pull her out of that. She's basically right here telling him that I closed myself off, and the only reason I came out of that hole that I was in was because a miracle happened. Her mother showed up again. Her mother showed up again and allowed her to finally get the courage to go out there, get a job, meet people, get connections with people, and yes, eventually meet Renji. It was a miracle that she claims should have never happened. The miracle was a mistake. That's something that should never have happened. And I wanted to still hold on to that miracle, but that was me being selfish and greedy. She's acknowledging right here that it's bad that I'm holding on to my mother being back and that it should have never happened. That's what she's having a problem with here. And again, because she held on to something so wrongly, and that she's being selfish with the situation in Marika, she's right here saying, I can't get married with you because it should have never have happened. I should have never been able to have met you. That was a miracle that should have happened. But Renji's response here, and again, unfortunately, this is a skip content, he tells her, I'm not a saint either. I'm not a saint either. He actually brings her over to this one location, and you kind of get a glimpse here, which I sort of caught on to at the anime, that they're standing on the edge of the ocean. The waves are coming in, and it almost gives a sense of him kind of fearing that Maya is going to get pulled into the waves again. Again, because Kasumi, his childhood friend, this girl that he loved before, she got swept away by the currents, got taken away and lost. And yet right here, yes, he still has that fear and he grabs her, even though it's a wave. And he's pointing out the idea that, it's swelling up and everything like that. You got to be careful. It is showing that he is being brave here in the anime, despite the fact that he lost the one that he loved before due to that same current, due to her being pulled away. But what the manga gets into with Renji right here is that he's acknowledging that a miracle happened for him as well shortly after he met Mai. That first scene where she comes there for her job and that he's not like off-puttish, but he's kind of closed up. And we know based on later on that yes, he's this way because he lost somebody. But he said shortly after he met Mai, a miracle happened. In this location that they're currently at, that he brings her to, they found one of the first belongings of Kasumi. I think it shows a shoe. So her shoe washed up on shore. He said that the family was finally able to give a burial. During that time, he ended up asking the father of Kasumi if he was okay with finding something. He said that he's 50-50 on wanting to find something. Because one, it's a final goodbye for Kasumi. But on the other hand, he thinks that this is Kasumi basically saying that he no longer has to be sad and that he can finally live happily. Like he can finally move on. And Renji said that after he heard that, he decided that it was okay for him to move on. And that was the point in which, yes, he went forward with Mai and they got engaged. The whole point here to what Mai is going through is that he's expressing to her that it's okay to have one of those miracles. It's okay to receive a miracle. If a miracle happens, in the end, you will be the one who will be living your own life. And yes, that's when it kind of ties back into the anime that she points out that you're really strong. He's like, no, not like I wanted to be strong. It's just I had to. I had to finally move on. And again, this kind of gives context to yes, why Renji decided at that moment to finally give up on Kasumi and finally move on with his life with Mai. Paralleling that to what Mai is going through right now is that, yes, they both got a miracle that helped them come together, but they can still kind of move forward. Either way, though, despite not having that extra context around Renji, I thought it was a really cute little scene there. I think Renji right here definitely MVP, kind of pushing forward and saying, you know what, I like Keisuke. I love your father. He's a great guy. He's very strong. He's somebody that I want to become. Like, yes, they're going to be moving forward and eventually they'll have children. He wants to be a father just like Keisuke because he sees how devoted he was. Again, that was the whole parallel we were drawing between the two of them. Keisuke was seeing how Renji was able to finally move on from somebody that he loved and he respected that. Whereas at the same time, Renji loved the dedication that Keisuke had. It all kind of comes down to almost a medium there. Like, they both have their own qualities, but I think it's together that medium that you really find that kind of sweet spot. But anyhow, that all moves into, yes, Mai confronting Keisuke, and that exchange, I've covered a bit of it earlier, but yes, it was a very, very strong little moment there, really kind of Mai pushing back, saying, look, don't marry Moria for the sake of, Takae, that's not right. That's not right to mom. And yes, like I said, I think there is a good element here of sort of establishing what reasons that he is marrying Moria, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But additionally, yes, kind of having Keisuke finally having to step up and say, and do what he was supposed to do. Yes, Takae has entrusted Keisuke to take care of Mai. And right here, he has to do what he never did before. Back when Takae first died, he didn't support Mai correctly. And right here, he's having to finally do that. That yes, unfortunately, people do pass away and you do have to keep moving forward. You do have to move on. And yes, there's a bit of it there where it's kind of a hypocritical thing where he didn't do it. And now he's got to do it. Like, I failed back here of moving on with life. And I failed to support my daughter and teach her what it's like to move forward. Now it's my time to finally do that. Now I can finally tell her that, yes, when people die, they die. People die when they're killed. And so you do have to kind of move on. You do have to keep moving forward. And that's really right here where he's finally able to do that. Unfortunately, yes, she still doesn't accept it. But I do like the fact that as she kind of storms out and she sits there, she does acknowledge at some point, you knew her longer than me, and you're hurting way more than me. Finally accepting that, yes, Keisuke is putting on a front. He's trying to be strong. But deep down inside, he's hurting just as much as she is. Way more than she is. I do like that acceptance there. And yes, he is pushing heavily on the idea that, yes, you have to acknowledge that you can't take Marika from Takae. You can't take Marika from Chika. That's her daughter. That is her daughter. And again, I'm perfectly happy with the portrayal of somebody being a little bit selfish here. Like, no, but there's no her there. It's all mom. I don't want to lose mom. Not even caring about Marika at all, because all that's in her mind right now is not, oh, that's right, that poor girl. All she's thinking about is, I don't want to let go of mom. I don't want to let go of this. It's a tough conundrum. And I like bringing up, again, this is why I like this story, is it brings up really kind of conundrums like that you would never really consider before. But yeah, that all leads to him repeating what Takae said initially. And this might actually be the hook here, is that yes, what Takae technically initially told them was to change your attitude and show me that you have a future worth living for. And again, this has been the question mark the entire time, ever since especially we figured out that this is supposed to be a possession, that there's unfinished business here. And yes, I can see Keisuke coming to the conclusion that, yes, this might be her unfinished business. Is not so much that they are happy, not so much that they undo, cover all the regrets that they had before, do all the things they wanted to do before, but more so on the idea of just wanting to make sure that Keisuke and Mai look like they have a future worth living, have something they're going towards. It's not just simply Keisuke is no longer gloomy. It's not just Keisuke and Mai are having proper meals. It's strictly, Keisuke, you have a future. And yes, up until the moment that it seems like he's connected with Moria and deciding to move on with her life and look for a future, Keisuke has yet to ever show that. Mai has, yes, definitely shown that she's going towards a future. She's getting with Renji. They're getting married. She's going to have a kid eventually. They're going to have a family together. But is she no longer looking back at Takae? That's the only problem that she really has, is she keeps looking back at her mother. So I think they both have not really fully shown that quite yet. But again, I was kind of waiting for this hook to kind of show where Takae probably at some point acknowledges that she herself can't let go. I think that's going to probably come up in the next episode. Again, having Mai and Keisuke telling her goodbye is probably going to be a strong thing there. But I think for her herself, is she willing to do that? There is a little bit in the manga that kind of skips there where Takae is, after she sees Mai in this episode, she does kind of question the idea if she's willing to kind of accept that everything's going to be fine. She herself still doesn't acknowledge that. She herself is having to tell herself that everything's fine. And yes, acknowledging the fact that she herself has always put on a strong front. she's a mom. She's always going to lie in front of people and show that she's strong because she wants to be a nurturer. She wants to show that strength as a mom. And that's something that she has acknowledged that she is technically not that strong. But yeah, all good stuff. Not looking forward to the finale. It's going to be a gut punch. I'm still hoping for a Marika Takae conversation. I really do think that in the later moments, they're probably going to go to this amusement park. They're probably going to finally say goodbye. Mai's going to say that she's accepted it. Keisuke is going to show up, say that he accepted it too. Probably going to have that moment where Takae is finally having to accept for herself that she has to move on. And I'm hoping right there we'll probably have a moment where she'll have a brief conversation with Marika. You know, again, Marika thinking that she saved her and thinking that she's, you know, helped her family, helped her mom and all that kind of stuff. I think it'll be a really sweet little send-off as well for Takae. But we'll see. Not looking forward to it, but that is episode 11. Looking forward to the finale next week. Hope you guys are joining me for it. But until then, I thank you guys for watching. And until next time, y'all take care.